Welcome everybody to the Storytime channel. My name is Steven, and today we have some malicious compliance stories. Quick reminder that I'm giving away a $20 Amazon gift card to one lucky viewer that comments on any videos I upload this week on Storytime and Scarytime. That means for your best chance to win, you'll want to leave as many comments as you'd like on each video we've uploaded this week, on both Storytime and my second channel Scarytime. Best of luck! That said, our first story of the day is by LSCRX. Want me to write a bad performance report? This happened more than a decade ago while I was still in the US Army. As a sergeant, you would get an annual performance report written by your supervisor, and that was a big part of you getting promoted or not. This was your NCOER, Non-Commissioned Officer Evaluation Report. My direct supervisor, we'll call him Staff Sergeant Douche, did not like Sergeant LSCRX at all. He was constantly up our first sergeant's butt while I was looking after the lower enlisted in our section, trying to do what was best for them, even if it didn't make me look good. Staff Sergeant Douche wasn't very good at the administrative side of his job, or any other, in my opinion, and one evening, I get an email from him stating something along the lines of, "Here's your NCOER, sign it and send it back." So I read it and almost sprained my eyeballs, I'm rolling them so hard. It is the worst NCOER I've ever read, much less received. He was really taking a lot of liberties and, in my opinion, was not doing himself any favors by writing such bad stuff about my performance, him being my direct supervisor and all. Well, there's a section of the NCOER where he was supposed to write the dates that he had formally counseled me about my performances throughout the year. Those counselings should support the performance he is writing about in the NCOER. Except he had never formally counseled me on anything that would involve paperwork and him doing his job correctly. But oddly enough, there were dates filled in for several quarterly counselings that he supposedly had done with me. Cue malicious compliance. I emailed him back, requesting that he send me copies of the quarterly counselings that he referenced in the NCOER, so that I could better address my shortcomings that he had so clearly spelled out in the NCOER. He very quickly responded that he didn't have copies, but my NCOER was due in the morning, so I needed to just sign it and send it back to him so that it wouldn't be late. I told him I would be happy to make some corrections that I felt better represented my performance, send it to him for review, and then sign it so that he wouldn't have to turn it in late to our first sergeant. Otherwise, I would have to wait for him to come up with the quarterly counselings for me to look over before I'd feel comfortable signing. Now, he knew that he hadn't done the quarterly counselings, and even if he faked a few with dates that matched the NCOER, they wouldn't have my signature on them, and there wasn't a chance in heck that I would sign a negative counseling with a faked date on it. So he was stuck. Either admit to First Sergeant that he hadn't done his job all year, but wanted me to sign off on a bad NCOER, or let me write my own NCOER and force him to sign off on it. Guess who has two thumbs and had a glowing NCOER? So if you got the opportunity to either A, get your direct supervisor in trouble and expose them for what they were doing, or B, write the review of yourself and give yourself a glowing review, which of those two options would you choose? Let me know in the comments down below. Our next story is by Fickle Midnight 5907. Lady demands that I stop what I'm doing and open my register. Okay, no problem. I, male, 19, work as a cashier in a gas station in Miami Gardens, Florida. Naturally, the people that come into the store tend to be on the crazier side. The store had a line of maybe 7 people. Now, at this point, I had the register closed sign up, and I was stocking the vaporizers and accessories on the shelves behind the counter. My coworker was handling the customers in line. I turn when I hear the door opening. Another lady walks in without a mask on. I politely ask, "Excuse me, miss, do you have a mask that you could put on?" She scoffed at me and rolled her eyes as she dug in her purse for a minute or two. Finally, she pulls out a ratty little mask with only one functional strap and holds it to her face while she's waiting in the line. Well, apparently she couldn't do that for very long. She comes to the front of the line ranting and raving about how the line is too long and that we shouldn't be keeping a valued regular customer waiting. I've been working here for 4 months and I've never seen her. I'm fairly confident I know all the regulars. I tell her that there were other things that my manager left for me to do before the end of closing and that I have to get them done. She didn't seem to like that at all. I demand that you open your register right now. Okay, you got it, lady. I moved the sign and then I turned back to her. Do me a favor and stand a little bit to your right. Surprisingly, she complied, albeit with her arms crossed and what I can only assume was an angry gaze firing through her mask. Cue the malicious compliance. Next customer, I yell out into the store. It dawns on her what I'm doing, but the next customer shoots up in front of the counter before she can even fully process it. I go about this transaction as normal, despite the fact that this lady is yelling at me at the top of her lungs, no longer holding the mask to her face, mind you. I finish up with the other customer, and I turn to her. She tries to yell over me, so I raise my voice a bit and try to be as stern as possible. I tell her, just because my register is open now doesn't entitle you to skip all the other people in this line who also have lives and jobs and other responsibilities. Get to the back of the line and be respectful or I have no choice but to have you removed from the store. We don't have security, but we're 2 blocks away from a police station, and one of the cool butt officers who comes into the store gave me their personal number to use just in case we have any issues. The lady harumphs loudly and walks dejectedly to the spot in line she had before she left. In the amount of time it took for the rest of the story to occur, more people had gotten in the line. I said the back of the line, I told her pointedly. She dropped her shoulders and walked to the back like a toddler. People, man. This next story is by Jupiter Skak. Do you know who I am? So a few years ago, I used to work for a tech company with a fruit logo as a technician. Part of the job was making appointments and checking people into the Genius Bar. I routinely got put on check-in, which I didn't mind because I was fairly good at de-escalating the angry people who come in for appointments to get their devices fixed and get told we have long wait times. The store was only slow when we closed. It was more common for walk-in wait times to be 2+ hours, but if people were nice or genuine, I knew some ways to make the appointment time significantly less. After a while, I got talked to by leadership to try to avoid doing that and to move through the line, because it affected the amount of in-store wait times and made us look bad, which is fine, I understood that. However, anytime an angry customer came in and threw a hissy fit, super rich area, and the never being told no mentality was common, the management folded over and did whatever they asked. A few days later, I'm back on check-in, and the line is to the door and packed. We have 2 people on check-in and moving quickly, but not quick enough. I see a larger dude in a nice suit that walked into the store and right past the obvious line straight to me and starts yelling he has to be seen right now. He tells me he has an issue with his phone that sounds like a simple software bug that we can fix easily, and I tell him, I'm sorry you're having these issues, but rest assured we can and will get them fixed for you. Unfortunately though, our wait times are extremely long, but if you return to the line and wait, I can either put you in our queue and text you when we're ready, or I can make an appointment for later on today or tomorrow. At this point, I notice his face turning red and he looks like he's about to blow. The dude screams at me, "Do you know who I am? Do you know what I do? I am important and I need this phone working now. So find someone to help me." At this point in the day, I was already tired and was about 30 minutes late for lunch because the line was so long, and I stayed to help my replacement with the line a bit. I stopped what I was doing and dropped my customer service smile and looked at the dude with the dead-eyed, worn-out retail worker stare and said, "Sir, I have no idea who you are, but if you need help with that, you're in the wrong place. The hospital is about 2 exits down. I suggest you go there. But if you need help with your phone and want to be seen right now, I will do so. If you tell every person you walked past that your time is more valuable than theirs, so you must go first, if they agree, I'll get you taken care of. But if not, get to the end of the line and wait like everyone else. Surprisingly, the dude actually turned to the lady I was helping when he barged in and started to say, "Ma'am, I have," before she just cut him off and said no. I told him, "You heard her. Sorry. Please move to the end of the line." I never found out who he was because he stomped like a child and stormed out of the store, throwing the heavy doors open and disappearing from view. After he left, I helped the lady and went to lunch. When I got back, my leadership on the floor told me I should have tried to be more helpful, and I told them I just got talked to for being too helpful, and for the rest of the time I worked there, they didn't bring up the issue again. I believe the guy probably sent his secretary or assistant up because that practice in the store was really common. The "do you know who I am" phrase became an inside joke between me and some coworkers when we had demanding customers. I definitely don't envy retail workers working in an environment where there's probably a lot of very privileged people there. Not only do these kinds of people just automatically look down on retail workers, but a good few of them will treat them like absolute dirt, and nobody deserves that. This next story is by PyroKitten284. Do your own dishes? Sure thing. My sophomore year of college was an interesting time. My roommates and I didn't really see eye to eye following an incident very early in the school year, and they often ganged up on me regarding issues in the household, regardless of whether I played a hand in the issue or not. One such issue was the dirty dishes situation. Having lived in the dorms the year prior, I had my own very basic dishes for the ramen and soup I lived off of, and was used to hand washing everything. So while my roommates would load everything in the dishwasher and let everything overflow there and in the sink, I would wash my few dishes and towel dry them before returning them to my room. Occasionally, I would go on an ADHD-induced cleaning spree and clean all of the dishes, including what had been left in the dishwasher, so it never got so bad that we couldn't at least do crap in the kitchen. One day, they called a household meeting. My two roommates were eyeing me the entire time as they went over this dish issue and said from then on, everyone was responsible for their own dishes. Cue malicious compliance. I stopped cleaning their messes. I used my personal microwave that I'd brought in from the dorms. I even stopped using their dishes, except for making macaroni and cheese. Everything continued to pile up. There was often very little counter space in our rather large kitchen, and every time they saw me, they would glare. But I was doing my own dishes just as they'd asked. It all came to a head on one of the days I decided to make macaroni. I was in the midst of eating my lunch and had decided I would clean my dishes when I was, done eating. Well, the witchier of the two roommates came home and saw me casually eating in the living room and tried to accuse me of not cleaning my fair share of dishes. I looked up at her and flatly said that I would gladly point out exactly what dishes were mine in the kitchen. She seemed to have thought she had won based on the smug look she gave me. Bowl in hand, I walked her to the kitchen and pointed out the pot, wooden spoon, and colander I had used to make my lunch, then motioned to my half-filled bowl and said that I'd just made myself food. I asked her as innocently as I could manage if I should have washed what I cooked with before sitting down to enjoy my food in the living room. She honestly looked ready to blow a gasket. Through gritted teeth, she told me that, "No, that wasn't expected of me." With a smile, I told her I'd clean my mess after I finished eating then, and watched her look around at the pile of plates, pots, and pans that she and our other roommate had let pile up in their attempt to either bully me into cleaning their crap more often or prove some sort of point about me leaving everything a mess. They didn't bother me about cleaning up after myself for the last 2 months we lived together. It just seems really odd to me that they would be the ones making all the mess, yet they seem to team up against OP and accuse them of making all the mess. I think this is just class A projecting or something. We couldn't possibly be this bad, it's all your fault that all our dishes are in the sink and piling up on the counters, and you can't do anything in the kitchen, but it's your fault. But with that being said, that's all the time we have for today. So if you have a favorite story of the day, let me know which story and why in the comments down below. But besides that, if you enjoyed the video, please consider giving it a like, and if you haven't, subscribe and turn notifications on so you'll never miss an upcoming video. No matter what you do, whether it's just viewing the video, liking, subscribing, turning notifications on, I appreciate the heck out of it. Every little thing that you do helps the channel grow that much more, and I can't thank you enough for it. So until next time, I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I'll be right here next time on the Storytime channel.